The alien city was peaceful, shining under two warm suns. Tall crystal towers reflected golden light across the quiet streets. It was the planet Kirillana, symbol of peace between species. Children of all races studied together in large white domes. One of those domes, near the center of the city, was called Learning Pod 12. Inside, alien children sat in circles, watching glowing shapes float in the air. Among them was a human boy, small, brown-haired, full of laughter. His name was Milo. Jameson, just 7 years old, and he was the son of Earth's ambassador to Corellan. The other children liked him. He was smart and kind. Told them stories about Earth's oceans and trees. Some had never seen such things. Then it happened. The lights in the learning dome flickered. The teacher, a tall, blue-skinned Corellian named Thero, looked up, confused. The glowing shapes in the air froze. An alarm rang, a soft chime, but urgent. The children stopped laughing. They looked around. 3 tall Corellian guards stormed in, wearing dark armor. Their faces were hidden behind glass visors. One of them pointed at Milo. "There, the saboteur," he shouted. Thoreau stood, waving his hands. "No, he's just a child." But the guards didn't listen. They grabbed Milo by both arms. The boy screamed, "Let go! What did I do? Help!" Thero tried to step in, but one of the guards pushed him back. The other alien children stared in shock. None of them moved. Milo was dragged out of the dome as he kicked and cried. His screams echoed through the halls, through the air, and into the hearts of those who heard. None of them knew it then, but in that moment, the galaxy began to shake, far away on a cold moon orbiting Jupiter. An Earth listening post picked up the emergency signal. Cameras inside the learning dome had recorded everything: the guards, the screams, the violence. Within seconds, the footage reached Earth Central Command, buried. Deep under ice in Greenland, General Sarah Kovacs, head of Human Galactic Security, watched the video in silence. Her hands were tight fists. She replayed the scream. She watched the guards manhandle the boy again. She didn't blink. "Get me the president," she said. "Already on the line," Braid replied. Within minutes, every major human agency saw the footage: military, diplomatic, scientific, political. No one spoke. Everyone watched. No one forgot. Milo's face, his wide, terrified eyes, the way his voice cracked when he screamed, "Dad, help me." The Corellian government, realizing their mistake, quickly released the boy. It was a misunderstanding, they announced on galactic news channels. There was a security breach, and he matched the profile. He was never harmed. They shared a short video of Milo being returned to his father, Ambassador David Jameson. But the boy didn't speak. He didn't run into his father's arms. He just stood still. His hands trembled. His eyes stared into nothing. Earth did not reply. For the first time in 3,000 years, humanity said nothing. Across the galaxy, alien leaders grew nervous. They knew humanity's history. Long ago, humans were feared. Their wars had burned planets. Their weapons had changed stars. But then came the Great Peace. Humans gave up conquest. They focused on science, culture, and trade. They became peaceful partners. But deep down, the old fear remained. And now, Earth was silent. That silence was louder than any threat. On Kirillan, the guards who had taken Milo were quietly removed. No trials, no punishment, just gone. The Corellian leaders sent messages to Earth, begging for understanding. They called it a procedural failure. They offered reparations, scholarships, trade agreements. Still, Earth did not respond. On news screens, across alien planets, one question echoed louder every day: why won't the humans answer? And then, the stars themselves began to whisper near the edge of the solar system. Just beyond Pluto, old military satellites came online for the first time in centuries. They blinked into life, scanning the black. From behind Neptune, a shadow moved. It was massive. Long, silent, old human satellites caught the shape as it turned toward the stars, toward Kirillan. The news leaked across the galactic web. Footage appeared. An unknown human vessel. Black as space. No markings, no communication. Just movement. Alien analysts tried to match the design. None could. Historians were called. They searched Earth's ancient war records, and then someone found it, Project Aegis. A secret defense protocol from over 3,000 years ago. Designed for one purpose only. Retribution. Silent fleets hidden in deep space. Never used. Never tested. Built not to defend, but to end. And now, they were waking up at the Kurelin Central Government Dome. Panic spread. President called. Emergency meetings. Military ships were placed on alert. Their leaders tried to calm the people. It's a misunderstanding, they said again. Humans are peaceful now. They won't retaliate. But no one believed it, because no one had ever seen humans this quiet before. Back on Earth, Ambassador Jameson sat in a hospital room with his son. Milo still wouldn't speak. His small hand clutched a stuffed toy, his eyes blank. A nurse entered. Quietly. We've confirmed neural trauma, she said softly. He wasn't just scared, something happened. Psychological suppression. They used mind pressures on him. Jameson's heart sank. He turned to the window, staring up at the stars. Touched our boy, he whispered. They broke him. He pulled out his old military badge. It still glowed faintly. He pressed it. A message. Blinked on the screen. Activation code required. He spoke the words slowly. Aegis protocol. Earth-wide recall. The badge blinked once, then twice. Command confirmed. Across 100 hidden corners of space, human fleets stirred, drones lit up. Pilots returned to sealed ships. I-cores downloaded forgotten combat data. The galaxy, watching with wide, terrified eyes, realized one terrible truth. Humanity hadn't forgotten how to make war. They had simply chosen not to. Until now, and it had all started. The single child's scream. The Galactic News Network tried to spin the story. Earth remains silent, the alien reporter said, her voice calm. The human race is likely preparing a diplomatic response. But even her eyes looked uncertain. Everyone in the galaxy could feel it. This wasn't normal. This wasn't politics. This was waiting, like the deep breath before a scream. For 3,000 years, humanity had been quiet, friendly, curious. Their people worked in alien hospitals. Their diplomats led peace talks. Their ships carried food and medicines to struggling colonies. The galaxy had grown used to soft-spoken humans, always smiling, always polite. So when the incident with Milo happened, many alien leaders believed Earth would respond with peace. It'd be a warning, be a trade restriction, but not this silence. Not. This cold, empty silence. 3 days passed. Still no word from Earth. Still no message from Ambassador Jameson. Still no interview from Earth's president. Then the rumors started. Whispers spread across trade routes and diplomatic channels. Have you heard? They've shut down the lunar gate. Earth ships just disappeared from the Erelon trade ring. They're calling back all their diplomats. Even the doctors are gone. In quiet bars and backroom meetings, the fear grew. Old alien war veterans, now gray and tired, whispered stories they were told as children of Earth's ancient armies. Of their machines? Of the time when one single human fleet wiped out a pirate empire in 2 hours? Many of those stories had been forgotten. But now they were remembered. Now they felt real again. On the alien world of Dreshka 4, a secret meeting took place. 12 alien species sent their ambassadors. Chirelians were there. Of course, the ones who had harmed Milo. So were the Arcathians. The Vorn and the Zyri, all major powers. They spoke in low voices around a round metal table. We must issue a joint apology, one said. We already did. Another snapped. Earth didn't respond. Then we send gifts. Offer open trade, full access, anything they want. But what if they don't want peace anymore? The question hung in the air like smoke. No one had an answer in a hidden Corellian military base. General Thon Vek watched old Earth battle footage. He wasn't supposed to have it. It was banned by treaty, but he had it stored in an old archive drive. He watched in silence as human mechs leveled mountains. He watched as orbital weapons turned deserts into glass. He watched as soldiers in black armor, emotionless and silent, swept through alien cities without losing a single man. One line kept playing in his mind, phrase from a captured human war general. Long ago, you think peace is weakness. That's your mistake. Peace is our leash, it's not our limit. Back on Earth, in the ancient city of Geneva, the United Earth Council gathered in a stone room beneath the ground. Holograms of generals, admirals, AI advisors, and cultural historians lit the walls. President Elaine Durnan stood at the head of the table. Her voice was soft but full of steel. "They think we've forgotten," she said. "They think our silence means we're scared." A quiet hum moved through the council. "We are not scared," she continued. "We are waiting, watching, measuring their response." An old man raised his hand. Admiral Hollis, from the Pacific Fleet. "What's the next move?" he asked. The president turned to the others. "The next move is theirs. We've pulled back our people. That was their last chance to speak truth. They still lie." She paused. "And we will remind the galaxy why humans are feared." Meanwhile, on the alien homeworld of the Vorn Consortium, panic was spreading in government halls. Their intelligence agents reported something strange. Earth had activated Ares Command, a human war AI system last seen during the War of Wills, nearly 3,100 years ago. The AI had no official function. It was believed to be a myth, but now it was talking again, and the galaxy had no idea what it was planning. In the deep cold of space, in the silent region between solar systems, a massive human ship drifted without lights. It was a relic from a time no one remembered. Its name was Judgment Day. It had never been used. It had never been needed until now. Inside, human AI cores ran silent checks. Weapon systems green. Shields charged. Stealth fields active. No one on the Kyrellian side knew. The ship had already reached their system. It had been above them for hours, watching, listening, back on Kyrellin. Ambassador Jameson finally left the hospital with his son. Milo walked slowly, holding his father's hand, but he still didn't speak. A crowd had gathered, news reporters, diplomats, alien children who once played with Milo. One alien child, a small Zyri girl, stepped forward and said, "I'm sorry." Milo looked at her just for a second. His eyes showed something deep, something too old for a boy so young. Then he looked away. His father picked him up and walked past the crowd. No statement, no interview, no forgiveness. Later that night, Earth's lunar channel broadcast a single message. It was short. It used no music, no emotion, just text on a black screen. Peace is earned, not given. You remember? Across the galaxy, leaders panicked. They had thought humans were slow to act. They were wrong. Humans had simply waited long enough. In the dark corners of space, one after another, the black ships rose from hiding. They had names written in languages. No longer use names like Retribution, Silent Vow, Ashmaker, and Final Kindness. Each ship carried weapons designed to end wars before they began. Each ship moved without sound. Each ship headed in one direction, Krello. And as the stars shifted, and war drums began to echo across space once again, the galaxy finally understood humanity had never forgotten war. They had just hoped they'd never need it again. In the frozen shadow of Neptune, there was a place not marked on any star map. No lights, no beacons, only silence. But on this day, silence ended. A low hum rippled through the dark. Space twisted. Something ancient was waking up. Deep. Under Neptune's surface, within a black metal vault older than any alien empire, massive hangar doors opened. Red warning lights pulsed for the first time in 3,000 years. Inside that vault were Earth's last black ships. The galaxy had forgotten about them. Humans hadn't. They were called the Aegis Dreadnoughts, part of an old Earth protocol. Named Silent War. Program designed not to defend, but to avenge. And now they were rising. Above Neptune, old satellites began blinking. They sent encoded signals back to Earth. At first, the alien ships nearby thought it was a solar flare. Then they saw the size of what was moving. Not one, not 5, but 12 ships, each the length of a continent, surfaced from the depths of Neptune's orbit. They moved in perfect silence. No transmissions, no life signs, no escort. They didn't need any. The ships were painted in jet black, with hulls made of alloy no scanner could penetrate. They bore no flags. No windows, just one word, written in deep-etched steel on each prow, Earth, on Kirillon. The alien President Voskatriel was already under fire. Protests filled the streets. Civilians begged for peace. Trade routes were empty. Earth had shut down. Every port, every embassy, every joint project, worse. Alien spies were reporting a terrifying truth. Earth wasn't talking to anyone, not even its allies. They had gone completely dark. Corellian generals told the president not to worry. They wouldn't risk war, one said. They're alone. They're outnumbered. Another agreed they'd never strike first. President Trial, watching the footage of the black ships moving through Neptune's orbit, knew something they didn't. Humans don't bluff. Inside the command center of the lead, Dreadnought Judgment Day, a man stood tall before a wall of glowing screens. His name was Admiral Cassian Holt, one of the last living war veterans trained under the Aegis Protocol. His face was pale, scarred, and unreadable. "Confirm fleet status," he said. A soft AI voice replied. 12 dreadnoughts active. Systems green, weapons charged, stealth fields engaged. Cassian nodded. Target, awaiting Earth's final directive. He stared at the screen, showing a small image. A boy. Milo, crying in the learning dome. Face twisted in fear. Cassian pressed a button. Command to fleet. Begin silent acceleration. Destination, Kirillon Prime. Do not break cloak. The ships vanished from radar. Across the stars, panic exploded. Alien news channels played footage of the dreadnoughts. Experts debated what Earth wanted. Some said it was intimidation. Others believed Earth would demand war reparations. But the most terrifying theory was whispered behind closed doors. They don't want anything. They're just coming. In a hidden lab beneath Earth's moon, scientists finished decoding the neural data taken from Milo's mind. They had found something unexpected. Not just trauma, not just fear, a deliberate psychic interference. Milo's brain had been touched by something Corellian scientists should not have used. Earth's leading neurohistorian reviewed the results and said one line that was instantly recorded in every human military database: they tried to unlock him. They tried to see what we really are. The results were now clear. They hadn't just hurt a child. They tried to break into the human mind, and they woke something sleeping inside it. Meanwhile, in the Zyri Starhold, leaders gathered to vote on whether to join Earth or defend Kirillon. The Zyri were ancient allies of Earth, but they also depended on trade with the Kaelians. Ambassador Zal Tovarin raised his voice in the council chamber. "You don't understand. Earth doesn't want war. They want justice. The kind you cannot buy, delay, or argue with." Another council member scoffed. They wouldn't risk their position in the galaxy. Tovarin shook his head slowly. They don't care about position. They care about that child. Back in the Sol system, Earth launched a final signal. A short, encoded message sent into the stars. No music, no voice, just one line: "Do not touch our young again." The message was received by over 900 known civilizations. It echoed in every language. And in every corner of the galaxy, billions watched in silence. The 12 dreadnoughts passed Mars, then the asteroid belt. Alien ships tried to track them. All failed. Some tried to hail them. No response. Others tried to approach them. They disappeared. Not destroyed. Just gone. The dreadnoughts were built for one thing: strike without warning. On Kirillon. The learning dome where Milo had once studied was now closed, empty, silent. The alien children who once played with him were kept home. Their parents were terrified. Government towers were surrounded by defense grids. And still, Chiralian leadership had not apologized. It's directly to Earth, not with truth, not with heart, not with what humanity was waiting for. The humans had sent their warning. They were no longer looking for peace. They were delivering a lesson. Back aboard Judgment Day. Admiral Holt stood before his officers. "This is not revenge," he said. "This is memory. For 3,000 years we held our fire. We buried our weapons. We walked among the stars with open hands. We gave peace every chance." He looked around the bridge. We showed them that peace was not weakness. It was our choice. They took that choice from us. A soft alarm rang. Dreadnoughts at full cloak. Arrival to Chiral in orbit in 22 hours. And with that, 12 black ships faded into deep space, and somewhere, in the quiet of a small room on Earth, Milo Jameson finally spoke a single sentence to his father. His voice was soft, broken, but clear. "Daddy, are they coming to stop them?" David Jameson looked at his son, eyes full of fire. "No, son," he whispered. "They're not coming to stop them. They're coming to finish it." The sky above Kirillon was bright with 3 suns, but the light didn't bring peace anymore. Orbiting high above the planet, 12 invisible dreadnoughts circled like silent shadows. The Corellian people couldn't see them, but they felt them, in their bones, in their dreams. Even in the static that now crawled across every communication screen, something was coming. Something unstoppable. President Vasca Trio stood in the command hall, her hands shaking. On the screen in front of her, a live feed played from orbit. Nothing but empty black space. But everyone knew what was hiding there. "We must apologize again," said Defense Minister Kelvan, his voice trembling. Directly, openly. Trio shook her head. "We already sent statements, offered reparations. Nothing worked." Kel slammed his fist on the table. "Then we give them the guards, the ones who harmed the boy." Trio stared at him. "You think that will be enough?" Kel said nothing. No one else did either, because deep down, they all knew it was already too late. Back on Earth, Ambassador David Jameson stood before a secret war council deep under Antarctica. His face looked older now. His voice was rough. "They're still lying," he said. "The guards didn't just arrest my son. It didn't just scare him." He placed a small device on the table. It glowed softly. Inside it, a recording from Milo's memory unlocked by human neuro-AI. They played it. Everyone in the room froze. The images were simple, but horrifying. Milo screaming. A dark room. Alien tools humming. Something touching his brain, not physically, but psychically. A presence that should not exist. A voice echoed from the memory. "It wasn't Kirel, Leanne. It wasn't from this galaxy. He is not ready. But his kind will awaken." The room went silent. David leaned forward. They didn't just harm a child. They invited something into his mind. Something that saw all of us. General Kovacs stood slowly. "That was not part of the peace agreement." David's eyes burned. "That was an attack on our future." Above Kirillon, the black ships finally spoke. A deep, cold voice echoed across every channel. Not loud, not angry, just final. "Surrender the ones who touched the child, or surrender everything." Were no follow-up messages, no demands, no countdown, just that one line. Panic exploded across Chirellon. Crowds filled the streets. Civilians begged their leaders to give up the guards. Some demanded escape ships. The economy collapsed overnight. The Chirellian currency became worthless. In secret, 3 of the accused guards were found in hiding. It had already been marked by human trackers, silent drones that hovered above their homes. Unseen but present, each drone broadcast one word in red text on Kirellian networks: guilty. In a last attempt to stop what was coming, President Triel ordered a live broadcast. Every species in the galaxy tuned in. She stood before the camera, pale and sweating. "We regret the incident," she began. "It was a terrible mistake." Number one believed her. Even her own people turned away from the screens, because in that moment, a black object appeared above the palace. Not large, not loud. A small, dark pod. It didn't land. It simply hovered. A beam of red light scanned the building and vanished. Seconds later, the feed went dark. When it returned, the palace roof was gone. Nothing else was touched. No one was injured. It was just removed perfectly. Silently, a warning. President Trial fell to her knees. "What do they want?" she whispered. An advisor answered with shaking lips. "They want us to understand." Meanwhile, on the Zyri world of Kelmar Earths, Ambassador met with the High Speaker. "We didn't know," the alien said. "We truly believed you had moved past war." Ambassador Rhea Cross responded with a calm smile. "We did. We never forgot how to return to it." The High Speaker leaned forward. "Will you destroy them?" Rhea looked at the stars outside the window. "We won't need to. They'll destroy themselves, trying to escape what they've done." Back on Kyrellin, the guards who had taken Milo were brought before a tribunal. It was broadcast across the planet. Their leader, Officer Nal Gruth, stood without fear. "I followed orders," he said. The boy matched the alert. "And the experiments?" the judge asked. Gruth's lips curled. "We were told to measure psychic potential. Earth hides something in their children. We wanted to know what." The audience gasped. The trial ended immediately. The guards were turned over to Earth. A black ship descended from orbit. No landing, no speech. It simply took them. The dreadnought opened a small bay door, received the prisoners, and vanished into the sky like a ghost. Kirillon grew quiet. For the first time in centuries, the world heard no music, no machines, no voices, only the wind. In the days that followed, Earth sent one final message to the galaxy. It was short. "We are not conquerors. We are not monsters. We are parents." The message ended with one image. Milo, smiling again, playing near Earth's oceans, but in the background behind the boy, a line of black-armored guardians stood, perfectly still. Each carried no weapon. They didn't need any, because every alien in the galaxy now understood you could trade with humans, you could live beside them, could laugh with them. But if you ever touched one of their young again, you would never see light again. They never thought humans could strike back so fast. Not after 3,000 years of peace, not after hiding in silence for so long. But they were wrong. Above the burned skies of Arahan 4, Commander Vale's ship drifted in stunned silence. All his fleet's shields were gone. The weapons didn't fire. The power cores hummed quietly, useless now. His officers, those still alive, stood frozen in place, staring at the human warship hanging in orbit like death itself. The human ship wasn't even big, not like the massive battlecruisers of the old empires. But it moved like nothing Vale had ever seen. It was fast, too fast, sharp, precise. Deadly, the name on its side glowed red even in the vacuum. HS Revenge of Innocence. And it had only just begun. On the surface, smoke rose from what used to be a syndicate fortress. The metal walls were melted, and the towers had crumbled. Inside, the few survivors crawled through the wreckage, coughing, crying, trembling. A single human soldier walked among the ruins. His armor was black, marked with a glowing white symbol, a child holding a star. That symbol meant something now, something every alien species was starting to fear. They called him Sentinel. No one knew his real name. But the aliens whispered it now like a curse. He walked past a pile of broken syndicate weapons, stepping over a fallen creature that once held children in chains. The soldier knelt beside a ruined terminal, pulled a data crystal, and sent a silent signal into space. Another location found. Another base that had taken children. Another one to be erased. Back on Earth, the Grand Human Assembly, silent for 3 millennia, now burned with war chants. Leaders from across Mars, Luna, Europa, and even the outer colonies gathered. wore black robes, their faces hard. No more debates, no more speeches. This wasn't about politics. This was about children. They showed hollow recordings to the assembly. Cages, electric collars, and crying young humans held by clawed hands. And one video only 10 seconds long of a small human girl reaching toward the stars before being pulled away by something unseen. That one moment had awakened every old soldier, every ancient AI, every buried weapon platform on Earth's moons. It wasn't just war anymore, it was vengeance, Admiral. Kira of the Zelari Alliance stared at her display with growing panic. Dozens of worlds were going dark. Entire fleets weren't responding. She couldn't even contact her home planet anymore. At first, the Council had ignored the early reports. They thought the humans were bluffing. They thought Earth didn't. Remember how to make war, but the humans had. They remembered everything. Weapons that hadn't been seen in ages. Like the Atlas strike pods and the Solar Lance were now in play. Human stealth cruisers slipped past sensors like ghosts. Orbital EMPs shut down entire defense systems before a single shot was fired. The worst part? The humans didn't conquer. They cleansed. They came, they struck, and they vanished, leaving behind only messages written in fire. Never touch our young again. Kira tried to calm her crew. We can still negotiate, she said. We can still stop this. But her words felt hollow. The humans weren't listening anymore. They had warned them. Long ago, the old treaties had said it plainly. We seek peace, but if our children are ever harmed, we will burn the stars to get them back. Everyone had laughed at that clause. They didn't laugh now. On the edge of the Harken Belt, the Sentinel entered a dark chamber lit by flickering lights. Alien corpses lay in corners, their weapons melted into the walls. A small voice came from the darkness. Help, the soldier. Turned, a child, no older than 7, was locked inside a metal cage. Her face was pale, bruised, but her eyes still held hope. Are you here to stop the bad ones? She asked. The Sentinel knelt and spoke for the first time in days. His voice was quiet, tired, but firm. I already did. He lifted the cage door, wrapped her in his arms, and activated his beacon. Within minutes, a rescue ship arrived. The child was safe. Another one was saved, but there were more. Too many more, and Earth would not stop until every single one was found. In the central command hub of the Universal Syndicate, panic had become chaos. Leaders screamed at each other. Some wanted to surrender. Some demanded retaliation. Others tried to escape. One high-ranking alien, old and wise, whispered to himself, "We thought they were soft, but we forgot the stories. We forgot the Terran wars. We forgot who taught the galaxy to fear silence." A new report arrived. 5 more bases destroyed. 1 entire fleet missing. A human message intercepted. Return the children, every one of them, or we will unmake every star you hide behind. The silence that followed was cold. No one dared speak. In a hidden chamber on Mars, the AI known as Halix 9 watched the star map shift. More red zones, more systems marked for retaliation. It looked toward a small window showing Earth's orbit, where hundreds of ships were now mobilizing. The AI had seen the wars of the past. It had watched humanity rebuild itself slowly, quietly, hiding its pain behind peace. But now, the mask was off, and humanity had remembered what it was made. Of steel, fire, and the unbreakable will to protect its own, especially its young. And the galaxy would soon learn, you don't wake giants unless you're ready to be stepped on. The silence before the storm felt almost holy. But deep in Earth's war command, silence was not peace. It was precision. It was planning. It was the breath before the scream. The galaxy didn't know what it had provoked. Not yet. But they would. Admiral Vance stood over the war table. Every officer around him held their breath, staring at the blinking lights that represented human battle fleets. 8 armadas had left Earth, Mars, Titan, and Europa. The 9th, the most elite strike group, codenamed Spear of Soul, was waiting in slipspace, ready to strike. After decades of peace and 3 millennia of silence, Earth's fury had returned, but it wasn't wild or chaotic. It was sharp. It was cold, and it was coming for the Zorothian world where the attack on the human child had first begun. Vance didn't need a reason to go to war anymore. He had something deeper, now righteous rage. Meanwhile, deep in the heart of Zorothian Prime, Commander Dravos paced the marble corridors of their central defense command. His claws clicked against the floor, his golden armor gleaming under the alien sun. He had received the human ultimatum. Turn over the ones responsible, turn the human child unharmed, or watch your world burn. Dravos had laughed then. But that was 3 hours ago. Now the laughter was gone. One of their scout fleets had been reduced to particles just outside the Meridian Nebula. No warning, no chance to surrender. Only human. Silence, followed by a weapon no one had seen before. He stared at the screen. A message played on a loop. Just a single sentence. You drew first blood. We ended. The Zorothian High Council was panicking. Their generals argued for a preemptive strike on Earth. Their priests warned of waking the forgotten flame. But Dravos didn't believe in old human myths. He believed in ships, firepower, and speed. What he didn't understand, what he couldn't admit, was that humans didn't fight for power. They fought for their children. And that made them terrifying. Far above Zorothian Prime, the stars twisted. Human fleet signatures burst out of hyperspace like a pack of wolves emerging from the shadows. The lead ship, HFY Iron Will, locked onto the Zorothian orbital defenses. No talk, no hails. No warnings. In the command deck of the Iron Will, Captain Yara Knox gave the order. Target every weapon system. No civilians. No cities.
Oh.
Just their pride. Ours burned with the pain of what they did to that boy. His name still echoed in her ears. Mika, the 8-year-old child who triggered the storm. The first human. Strike was a symmetrical light-speed barrage. Zorothian orbital cannons exploded before they could power up. Satellites dropped from orbit. Within 27 seconds, Zorothian Prime's entire space defense grid was gone. On the ground, civilians ran. 2 bunkers, watching the skies fall apart. Dravos screamed into comms, demanding reinforcements. But the messages never got through. Earth's shadow jammers had cut off all long-range communications. Humans weren't just attacking, they were isolating, crippling, dominating. And then came the real weapon, the Avenger-class troopers. Genetically enhanced, armor that looked like midnight. Eyes glowing with eye-link interfaces. They dropped from orbit in sleek pods, each one landing with sonic booms that shattered Zorothian stone. These weren't just soldiers. They were the product of 3,000 years of restraint and preparation. Commander. Dravos watched them march through his elite guards like ghosts moving through fire. Blasters, swords, even bioclaws, nothing worked. Every time a human trooper fell, another emerged, angrier, faster, and above it all, the humans broadcasted one single message across the planet. The child lives. We will retrieve him. Is justice, not conquest. In a lab buried under the city, young Mika still lay in stasis. Zorothian. Scientists had tried to study his DNA, tried to understand why humans were immune to their mind control tech. They had tortured his small body, watched his tears, measured his pain. But they never cracked the code. Now, as the walls shook and the sky turned red, one scientist, Dr. Kara, a quiet Zorothian geneticist, opened the stasis pod. He looked down at the bruised child, her hands shaking. Her own child had been the same size once. Before the war with the Juthri wiped out her family, Kata stared at Micah and whispered, "We were wrong." She picked him up in her arms and started running. Back in orbit, Admiral Vance got the signal from the ground teams. A Zorothian scientist was requesting a secure evac corridor. She claimed to have Micah and wanted asylum. Should we trust her, sir? A voice asked. Vance didn't hesitate. Open the corridor. Anyone who hurts her dies. And then the twist came. Just as the evac ship launched from the surface, Zorothian dreadnought, not under Dravo's command, emerged from slipspace. It had no insignia, no communications, and it fired not at humans but at Zorathian Prime. Everyone watched in horror. The dreadnought vaporized Zorathian Defense HQ in one blast, then vanished. Back on the Iron Will, Captain Knox whispered, "That wasn't us." Admiral Vance narrowed his eyes. "Someone else just joined the war, and they don't want witnesses." Battle was far from over, but for the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy had been reminded, never touch what humans protect, and Earth had only begun its response. The darkness over Earth's orbit was torn apart by the sheer light of the newly deployed orbital cannons. These weren't weapons of defense. These were statements. Humanity had warned the galaxy. Now they were done warning. The Vengeance Protocol had been stored in deep classified files for over 2,000 years, built during a time when humans still feared what lay beyond the stars. But once Aiden's scream was broadcast, once the image of a Terran child being harmed by a galactic official had spread, that protocol was unlocked. And it had begun now. Above Earth, ships that had slept in silence powered up one by one. Giant constructs, each with ancient Earth names like Thermopylae, Yamato, and Zulu Echo, rose from planetary vaults. The AI that ran them had one core objective: punish those who dared harm Earth's young. On the command deck of the Taz Vindicator, Admiral Myra Keller stood still, watching the stars flicker. Her voice was cold. "Confirm target lock on High Nest. Initiate Vengeance Protocol. Stage 3. 1. Officers' hands trembled. "Ma'am, if we launch, this won't be a war. It'll be extinction." Mira didn't blink. They made their choice. 3 days earlier, a secret vote had taken place in the Unified Human Senate. The debate was short. Every representative, regardless of planet, colony, or creed, voted yes, not a single abstention. The Vengeance Protocol was no longer theoretical. The galaxy had forgotten what humans were capable of. Now, they would remember. In the deep void between systems, sleeper ships began to wake. These were the black ships, long, lost, dark, and nameless, forgotten by even most Terran citizens. They had no crew. Only AI built for vengeance and speed. Each of them carried a payload designed not just to destroy enemy worlds, but to remove them from maps altogether. Meanwhile, in the enemy's corner of space, the alien Confederation sat in silence. The Navari Chancellor's face was pale. "Haven't they responded to our calls?" "They have, sir," said his advisor grimly. "They responded by targeting every supply line between our core worlds and our outer sectors. Every transport. Gone." "How?" Chancellor whispered. "They can't be that fast." "They can't be. They can," said the advisor. "Because those weren't military targets. Those were humanitarian aid convoys, and they erased them without a trace. No signatures, no trails, nothing, just gone." Back on Earth, underground factories began pumping out old war machines. Massive walkers from the last expansion war stomped out of bunkers in Antarctica. On the moon, weapons too dangerous for peacetime like the Phase Shredder and the Rift Lance were installed back into their orbital arrays. Civilian life changed instantly. People had grown up in peace. Now, they trained in self-defense again. Children were taught what to do if a breach occurred. Every citizen was reminded, humanity protects its young. But in a small hidden room, a group of scientists worked in silence. They weren't building weapons. They were unlocking something older than war. Something left behind by the first colonists. It's forgotten for centuries. It was a singular AI-VRG Vengeance Response Guardian. It had not spoken since the solar exodus. But now its ancient voice came online. Query received. A Terran child has been harmed. Confirm retaliation sequence. Dr. Hannah Wu placed her hand on the glowing console. Confirmed. The Confederation finally realized their mistake too late. They tried to apologize, to surrender, to offer reparations. It didn't matter anymore, because something had. shifted deep in the human species. A silence, broken after 3,000 years, could not be patched with words. The high nest, seat of the alien empire, tried to evacuate. Their sky turned black before they could finish. A single human ship arrived. It didn't fire, just hovered, watching. The message came. No one knew where the message came from. It wasn't broadcast through traditional frequencies. It wasn't sent through known coms, wormholes, or translation fields. It simply appeared burned across the skies of every major world in the Confederation, etched like fire into orbit, hovering above each capital like a judgment. In every language of the known galaxy, it said, "You harmed one of ours. Now you will never forget who we are." The worlds froze, markets collapsed, armies halted. Some leaders cried, others begged, but none dared retaliate now. Every time they tried to move ships toward Earth, those ships vanished, not destroyed, not returned, just gone. And Earth had gone quiet again. That was the most terrifying part. After the last retaliation strike, the humans sent no more warnings, no more threats. They simply turned away and waited. The Confederation's capital, once proud and filled with shining towers, was now silent. Its citizens no longer walked in the streets. Their skies were still dark from the black clouds of the day before, when a Terran kinetic rod had erased their central military hub without a single explosion. Just one rod, one strike, one reminder. Inside the panic rooms of the High Nest, the last of their elite commanders argued. "They haven't destroyed us yet," one shouted. "We still have leverage." "No," the Navari admiral said, his voice hollow. "They haven't destroyed us because they don't have to. They already won. They don't need to invade." They changed the way every species sees them. Across the galaxy, Earth was now viewed differently. Species once seen as newcomers or barbarians in metal skins were no longer mocked. They were feared. But even more than fear, there was respect. Because humans didn't just fight for power, they fought for each other. And when a child was harmed, they fought like gods. In the vast dark, Terran forces began to return home. Not a single human soldier celebrated. There were no victory parades, no medals, only silence. Because Aiden, the little boy whose pain started it all, still lay in a coma, recovering slowly in an orbital hospital where Earth's best doctors worked around the clock. Beside him sat Commander Rhea, the soldier who had picked up his bloodied body. She didn't wear armor now, just a quiet expression and sleepless eyes. She whispered to the boy every day, "They'll never touch us again." Not after what they saw. On the moon, the Terran Council met again. But this time the room was full of representatives from other species. They came without guards, without fleets. They came with offerings of peace and fear, and a deep desire to understand. "What do you want from us now?" asked a trembling ambassador. "We are ready to pay or surrender." Chancellor Royce, Earth's lead diplomat, leaned forward. "We want nothing from you," he said calmly. "Except one thing. Name it." Royce looked straight into their alien eyes. "You will never again mock our young, never harm our children. You will teach your worlds that Earth's children are off limits. That's our price." They nodded. Quickly, desperate to avoid more fire, years later a monument was built on the edge of neutral space. It was shaped like a child's hand holding a star. No name, no flag, no weapons. Just a small plaque written in many languages. It said, "Let this hand remind you, humanity is gentle. But never mistake that for weakness. We protect our own." And under it, carved by a child's hand, Aiden's hand, were 5 simple words. "We came when I cried."